Hello everyone and welcome back to the first roundup reaction of NRL 2026. It's very, very nice to be able to say that. It's good to be back seeing some proper NRL football today in Las Vegas. The two games are done and dusted, but still plenty of things to take away, even though we're only going to be looking at two games this week. This is the first set of games under the new stat system. Obviously, new combinations, all those mid-ranges that you might have picked from, the Newcastle Knights, the Cashman boys absolutely killing it for the Dragons. Your Stephen Crichtons, Carraz is doing very well for the Doggies, winning in Golden Point. So absolute carnage. Drinkwater getting injured, Fletcher Sharp getting injured. Just so much still to chat about. So it's good to be back, and good to see some people already in the chat. Wooden Spoon SC says it's good to be back. Let me know what you guys think as well. Do you think you're going to win the 50,000 after today's results, or do you think you're going to pack it in? I most certainly thought when I saw Drinkwater coming off the field, all right, we're done. See you guys in 2027. Honestly, I was just like, why did we play this game? It's honestly my reaction when I first saw that. I thought, why do we put in the time? Why do we put in the hours? Why do we care so much when it just, most of the time, it just slaps you in the face and doesn't do anything good for you? But no, we all love the game. We generally love it. So it was good to see Drinkwater get back on the field. We'll definitely talk about him. Paycheck says Drinky a disappointment, but I'll hold him. The only way is upright. I'm hoping so. So I did start with Drinkwater. I did vice captain him. Obviously, that didn't quite work out. But good to see Rod McGrath in the chat, Lachlan Camilleri, Tour Pro, Matthew Sherwood, as always, Big Ted SC, NRL Centre, Dylan Stewart, and 3KU. So yeah, a lot of people in the chat as well, which is great to see as well. So yeah, do give the stream a like, guys, if you are enjoying it. And if this is your first roundup reaction, typically what we do is we just look at scores for the games and dissect all of the major talking points, injuries, minutes, role, big attacking scores, all the good stuff. So what I've got on the screen here is the Baller website, which I definitely encourage you all to sign up for. This is not sponsored or anything like that, but I just absolutely love the tool that the Baller boys came out with last year. The best thing that you can do for live in-game score tracking. So it's BALLR. And what I like about this is that it's got all of the scores, but it's also got minutes, which is one thing that the SuperCoach website doesn't track. And that's going to be really helpful when we're looking at tracking minutes and whatnot, because we're still learning as much as we can in the opening round. So it's good to see what the minutes were played by certain players. So of course the Knights took that first game 28 points to 18. Bit of a surprise, I think. Not a surprise, but the Knights did look good, definitely, in this game. But the Cowboys, they didn't look all that great. We'll check back in with the chat. Tour Pro saying Drinky not goal kicking, immediate sell. HH is saying, 3K is saying Drinky hold for at least one more week. People on Fletcher Sharp saying Fletcher Sharp, not ACL. It looks like it's a PCL. So it should be, Physio has tweeted, which I've retweeted on my Instagram. Looks like it could be 2 to 3 weeks possibly for Fletcher Sharp. I wouldn't be stressing about ACL, but yeah, unfortunate for owners of him because he was definitely a big point of difference. You can see there, right? 63 points in 26 minutes. He was killing it. He looked so good. So it's a bit of a downer that he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. And I think for that much money, you might just have to look to make a move on him, but maybe potentially to bring him back. Keep doing your thing, man. It's a long season. Yeah, no, all good. No, I'm going to keep playing this game. Don't you worry about that. I think one big takeaway just across both games, just to start things up, we are definitely seeing some extra points for middle forwards. So if we look at the forwards in general for, say, the Newcastle Knights, Phoenix Crossland scored 62. He did have a couple of, 40-20s in there, I want to say. Where's the 40-20? I'm just trying to see which one is the 40-20. No, that's forced dropout. Is it the 42? Yeah, maybe I think it's the 40-20. Yeah, 42 here. He did have a 40-20. But apart from that, 42 points, pretty much all in work rate. Although minutes hard to kind of assess, I think, for the Newcastle Knights because of the injury to Fletcher Sharp. That made Sanders Smith come on the field for 54 minutes. It would have been interesting to see what the middle rotation would have been, because maybe Sanders Smith would have come on and played some middle hooker. We just don't quite know. And that may have affected the minutes of someone like a Crossland and some other players as well. But no surprises, I guess, with... So Trey Mooney played 49 minutes, which is decent. Really, really good stats. Obviously, 94 points. I started with Trey Mooney. Very happy with his work rate. Scored a try with a line break. So that's another thing that we should take note of. You have... we saw it with... I don't think Marzu got it, but I think Trey Mooney got it for when he scored his try. When it's like a kick and it was like batted back. I think who passed it to Trey Mooney? Dom Young. So Dom Young caught it and then offloaded it back to Trey Mooney, who went over and scored. In SuperCoach, I don't think that would have been given a line break, but in the NRL system, it was given a line break. So as you can see, if I just have a look at the top here, yeah, Trey Mooney got one line break. I have a feeling it was from scoring that try. So that's something to take note of as well. Those kind of those tries from back sometimes can be given the line breaks. But aside from that, you take out the 27 points, 94 points, he still scored like over 60 points, 65 plus in base power. So really, really good outing from Trey Mooney in his 49 minutes. Dylan Lucas pretty much just doing what he does as he is priced at, 80 minutes on the edge, 74 points, no real major attacking stats. So that's pretty much all in work rate. Jermaine McEwen's minutes was probably about what we expected, given that it was confirmed that he's not going to be playing 80, at least in the early rounds. So 68 minutes for 43 is fine. No pulling up trees though. So I think probably he's someone who maybe will build into the season, and then we can, take a look at him at that point in time. There was also a game day switch of, who was his name? Matt Croker came into the starting lineup in replacement of Tyson Frizzell. They both played pretty much the same amount of minutes though. So middle forwards definitely, and the forwards definitely got some good points there, like Trey Mooney, Dylan Lucas, even Frizzell in his 47 minutes, scored 51 points. Those are probably the main talking points of the forwards. If we look at the backs, of course, this is where a lot more of the discussion will probably be for the Newcastle Knights. Got to start off with the man on the thumbnail, Kalen Ponga. 118 points, 2 try assists, try contribution, was kicking goals, got a line break when he sent over Bradman Best for his try. 9 tackle busts, which is really good. 8 tackle, just filling up the stat sheet, basically, Kalen Ponga. It looks really, really good. I know that's going to be one of the most popular questions, I think, coming into this week, Drinkwater to Kalen Ponga, because obviously the Cowboys didn't look great. Attack just wasn't really functioning all that well. They were just going very side to side, not a lot of direct play. Of course, Drinkwater had that rib issue, and it looked like it was a rib cartilage. So I'm loath to just punt Drinkwater straight off the bat. I'm pretty sure that the Cowboys have got the Titans in round 2. Let's have a quick look at that. West Tigers, sorry. They've got the West Tigers in round 2 at Leichhardt. That's not going to be easy because West Tigers, that'll be their first game. They've got the bye round 1. Cowboys have got in round 3. Yeah, they've got the Titans in round 3. So, bit tricky to understand whether you want to just punt Drinkwater off the bat. I understand the appeal of KP at that price, and he looked good. Like, he passed the eye test. I think that was the main thing with Kalen Ponga. Didn't see him in the trials. He had such a long layoff last year from that foot injury, but he looked really, really good. Knights have got the Manly in round 2, so I think it's away, but that's not a bad matchup. And then in round 3, they've got the Warriors, but it's at home. So next couple aren't too bad. We have so much more to see though, of course, because these players that have played today are not going to play for the next couple of weeks. We still have 6 other games to go through for the remainder of round 1. So it's still a lot of water to go under the bridge, at least even for this first round. My initial thought though isn't to pull that trigger round 1. In the first round, but say round 3, if we see another not great game from Drinkwater, Ponga looks really, really good again. I would suspect that at his price of 600k, he would be having a negative break even. Potentially there's a trade that I do in round 3. I'll sit on that for a little bit more as well. But yeah, KP looks really, really good. What else have we got here? Drinky looking like a rage trade. Clifford goal kicking and Drinky not looking close to last pass. That is a very good point as well. So Drinkwater, we'll quickly flick over to him. So yeah, Scott Drinkwater only the 21 points in the 68 minutes. Didn't goal kick. Now, I wonder if it was maybe because of that rib issue. But if Clifford is goal kicking, then that obviously massively reduces the appeal of Drinkwater because you expect the Cowboys to score a lot of points. You want Drinkwater to benefit from that in his goal kicking. And you are right as well. I didn't really notice him out many times being that last pass. It was typically the centers. So Tom Chester was looking good. Jackson Purdue actually was okay, even despite only scoring 42. That was all pretty much base power. Tom Chester was impressive, 61 points all in base power. No major attacking stats for his 61 points. So that's really, really good effort from Chester. Hopefully he can continue that and can actually stay in the role in round 3. So yeah, I think no goal kicking from Drinkwater isn't great. Hopefully we get some news or update on that. I wonder if it was maybe just because of the rib issue. There is something to be said though, and the Flog19, great username, makes a good point. Rib cartilage sucks. I was in pain for 2 months last year. Hurts doing everything. NRL Physio mentioned this a lot as well. Rib cartilage issues are very, very painful, and they're just a pain management thing. Players can play through them. It's just they hurt a lot. So they need to get like painkillers, injections. If it's confirmed that it is a rib cartilage, that may make me sway towards actually just wanting to move off of him, because if he's got a rib cartilage issue, it will hamper his performance in general, I would think. So maybe it is a case of actually just pull that trigger round 2 and, free up 180k, which can be useful to try to make some upgrades. And there is something to be said as well about it's good to wait another week and, then have 2 weeks of information to then make 3 trades in round 3 with a boost. But if you feel like you're going to already do 3 trades in round 3 or 3 other trades, maybe there's something to be said for bringing that other trade forward in the second round. So I definitely get that. So yeah, Drinkwater is on shaky ground. I'm not committing to selling him or not, but the rib cartilage is definitely a good point because that is a very painful injury. If Drinky doesn't perform next week, is Ponga a good option? Absolutely. I think, what I really just like, I know a couple of people, like the Whisperer, etc., who have KP and they started with him. I was pretty negative on KP to start, and it was nothing but probably just my own stubbornness of how the Knights attacked last year and how injury impacted he was towards the back end of last year, and obviously missed a lot of games, and I just wanted to see it. I'm very happy that he looked really, really good. That's filled me with a lot of confidence. So yes, the 118 points is really good. He could have played, I think, in my mind, he could have played the same way and scored 75, 80 points, and I still would have taken notice. So basically, I'm not trying to get swayed purely just by how many points the guy scored, but he just looked really, really good. So I don't know, and again, I don't know how much of it is because of the Cowboys looking not great, but he definitely looked good. So KP is firmly on radar, possibly could be a round 2 trade-in. All the backs did well for the Knights as well. Dom Young was really good with a try and a try assist, so he scored pretty big with 94 points. Gagai with 58, he looked pretty good, was threatening, was close to scoring a try, but it got pulled back, so that 58 was very close to being bigger. I actually owned Gagai in one of my draft teams, so I was happy enough with that score. Bradman Best a bit on the down, probably in terms of the work rate. 61 points with a try and a try contribution. So if you take out the, 21 points there, 40 points in base power from Bradman Best is fine. But he's typically someone who can push closer into the 50s, mid-50s. Marzio, of course, scored the try. And here's another one who I don't think he got the line break awarded on his specific try. I think there was another play in the game where he got the line break. But 73 points, he would have scored 50 points in base power. That's pretty much what Greg averaged in base power last year. So I think nothing really different. I think this Fletcher Sharp injury and how good he looked in the halves hopefully just allays any kind of fears over Marzio's job security, because there were some comments about Fletcher Sharp not just being a halves player. He could move around, maybe play on the wing, and the talk was that he would play left wing maybe, and that takes the spot of Greg Marzio. But surely after, even in the 26 minutes, how good Fletcher Sharp looked, you would hope that it just means, I mean, Sanders Smith was very good as well, don't get me wrong. So maybe there's still some job security possibly on Greg, but again, I keep saying it, but he looked good. I'm just hoping that with how good Fletcher Sharp was in the halves, that just keeps Fletcher Sharp and Dillbags in the halves, and then Marzio stays in that left wing. That's probably the only thing that would maybe give me some slight pause for concern on, going and bringing in Marzio, but he kind of delivered in terms of at least his underlying work rate. 3KU says, got Drinky for a reason, hold for me. If round 2 he looks bad again, then yes, see ya. I think that's probably the more logical, rational play, but we'll see how we go. Put the VC on Sharp. Thought it was a great move for 25 minutes. Yeah, it is a bit gutting for sure for Fletcher Sharp owners because he was looking electric. He was looking so good. Dillbags was solid without being amazing. 2 try contributions for 46 points. So again, not anything. And because he's halfback only, I think that kind of didn't really make him much of an option anyway. So I think, overall, really good performance from the Knights. Some good scores across the board from their backline players and their middle forwards. I think nothing's really changed in my mind apart from probably KP. KP looked really good. I think Dom Young's score is really good, so we'll pay attention to that if that happens again. Marzio, I don't think is anything too surprising because he got 50 in base power, which he averaged last year. I think Trey Mooney kind of solidified that he was a very, very good pick for the start of the year, though. 49 minutes, but 65 plus in base power is really, really encouraging. Dill Lucas, he'll get a big score every now and then because 74 is probably what he will just get most weeks anyway. So really good from the Knights. Cowboys, a little bit disappointing, of course. We've spoken quite a bit about Drinkwater. Braden Burns, I want to quickly mention him as well, because of course he got sin binned at the end of the game, so that kind of hurt his overall score. He was on 34 base power after the first half. I kind of called out in the center video center live stream that Braden Burns had like a sneaky, crazy good base power, and you kind of saw that again today as well. So if you just quickly calculate, so offload to hand is 4 points. Plus, I'm going to assume, is that 8 tackle busts? So that 8 tackle busts, that's 16 points. So what's that? We're looking at 4 plus 16, 20 points. Plus 4, what's that? 24 plus 26. That's, 50. 55 minus 3. What's 55 minus 3? 52. 52 base power in 71 minutes. Pretty solid from Braden Burns. So that could have gone up to even mid-50s plus if he stayed for the full 80 minutes. So I know a couple of people out there who went on him as a bit of a point of difference. I think kind of showed you why he's was a good sneaky point of difference player. Chester we spoke about, very encouraged with that 61 points. I didn't play Chester in my actual team. I played set 2-2 over him. In the end, it was like different by a point. So it didn't really matter a whole much, but very encouraging to see how good of a work rate and base power that Chester had. Purdue, I think, looked good. Only the 42 points all in base power, but I think that's still somewhat encouraging. So I'm not going to really stress too much about Purdue as well if you owned him. And yeah, we'll move on. And then Clifford was good. Talangi with a double of 88. Dearden was also solid enough with 75. Moving on to the forwards, Reid Miney, 51 points. And I think even more encouraging is the 80 minutes. He played the full 80 minutes. Sonny Luke didn't get on the field. So 51 points is it's fine. I didn't think he actually had the best of games, and I think he kind of had a bit of a late surge because he was on about 26 at halftime, and I was kind of keeping a close eye. He wasn't really going all that much, but he basically did the exact same thing in the second half, 26 in the first half, and then 25 in the second. 47 tackles, got a forced dropout. I know he kicked the ball dead once as well, so probably not his best game NRL-wise, but I think 51 from Miney at 418k is kind of what we were hoping / expecting. You know, historically, he's always been a guy averaging around the mid-50s. Was priced at about low 40s, so I think you're getting the value hopefully that you would have paid for with a Reid Miney. So yeah, I agree with your comment, Tool Pro, that he was not fully agreed, like he was disappointing. Yeah, but he wasn't his best. Supercoach wise though, I think seeing the 80 minutes, 51 points is pretty happy with that. Even more happy with Helium Lukey. Played the full 80 minutes, which is probably the best thing I wanted to see from him because he's played very few 80-minute games in his career for 95 points. Obviously got that try with a line break and I was absolutely cheering. It was a very mixed... This was the roller coaster moment of the game when it was Drinkwater had just gone off the field. Then Lukey scores. I was like, Supercoach is just well and truly back because my heart is just getting pulled in all these different directions. My stomach drops when Drinkwater goes off. My heart lifts when I see Lukey score. My emotions just going all over the shop. My phone... And I don't know if you guys... I was on my phone for so much of today. Just watching the games, of course, and then tweeting all the time. So my phone was getting really hot. It literally felt like it was on fire, just the amount I was tweeting. I should actually mention as well, great day as well, because I played a game of cricket in the afternoon. So I actually only just finished rewatching the Bulldogs Dragons game just before the stream started. But my team won in cricket as well. So it was a pretty good day. We played 2020 comp. Didn't get any wickets, but did okay. Kept them to only gave away 8 runs in 3 overs, so pretty solid. And then, yeah, Cooked looked good. Drinky a trade out. Yeah, a couple of people a bit off Drinkwater. Yeah, I feel for you, Alex Sports Collector. I'm spewing. I swapped KP for Drinkwater. Yeah, that's pretty rough. And yeah, I'm not very pleased, of course, with Drinkwater's 21. And another thing will be break even. He will have a very big break even. And if he backs it up with another low score, he will be set to lose a lot of money. So I won't be shocked to see Drinkwater being one of the most traded out players as we, roll into round 2. But yeah, in terms of Lukey, I haven't actually calculated his work rate, but we're looking at 3 tackle busts for 6 points, 3 points there in runs, so that's 9 plus 14, so that's 23, 48 tackles. So 48 tackles, what did we say he was on? 6 plus 3, 9, 14, 23 plus 48. That's a lot. It's about 71 points there. Minus 3, 68. 68 points in base power from Lukey, 80 minutes. That's awesome. If you got no attacking stats and he gets 68 points, that's a great outing for someone who's priced in the 420Ks. So yeah, very happy to start off with Lukey in my own team. And yeah, even more pleased that he got the full 80 minutes. Aside from that, not too much more, I guess, from the Cowboys. Obviously, their bench rotation was a little bit all messed up because of Drinkwater going off the field. I believe Purdue went to fullback during the time of the field, the 12 minutes off the field that Drinkwater's off. So that was something interesting to know that maybe Purdue can play a bit of fullback if he's required to. And I think Purdue looked better towards the second half rather than, say, the first half. But yeah, really happy to see that score from Lukey. Yeah, as 7 Swift 515 is saying, Lukey's work rate was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let me know your other takeaways from this particular game in terms of Supercoach relevance. I know I haven't really spoken too much about Tom Dearden, but he's fairly low owned. I think, yes, they scored well, just not the best outing though from the Cowboys in terms of their attack. Didn't really look that good. The Knights were a decent defense last year though. So maybe it's not all surprising that they only conceded the 18 points. But yeah, the Cowboys' attack didn't look all that hot. We'll quickly move on back to the Bulldogs game now. So Bulldogs versus the Dragon. Of course, there's probably a couple more interesting talking points out of this one, 15-14, going into Golden Point. So one thing I will say, of course, there are a few middle forwards here, particularly from the Dragons, whose scores will be inflated because they played so many extra minutes. So if we just move on to the Dragons, of course, off the bat, nothing much from the back line. Val Holmes with 56 confirmed. He did play right centre. You also got to see that first. You also got to see evidence of that whole centre getting the try assist, because there was that play when Setutu scored where the ball went up, or they ran it. Actually, I can't quite remember. But Jaden Stewart offloaded it. Gutherson did a tap back to Val Holmes. Val Holmes then just ran a few meters past it to Setutu, and then Setutu scored in the corner. I have a feeling that in the Fox system, Gutherson might have got that try assist because he had the flick on, and then Val Holmes would have got the try contribution. But instead, you saw Val Holmes get the try assist. So good to see that actually playing out in practice. So again, that's kind of... and also Stephen Crichton got the same thing. He got a try assist for Carraz for his try. So already you're seeing a couple of centres getting some early try assists. So again, evidence of the whole new system coming into play. Val Holmes, look, 56 is fine, but he was kind of carrying his hamstring towards the back end of the game. I don't know that many people who started with Val Holmes, particularly because of this whole hamstring issue. It was one of the reasons why I didn't start with him in my own squad. And yeah, it kind of wasn't that encouraging. So it's not like his score was amazing either. So I think he did fine for what condition he was in. Just someone to monitor that you might want to bring in the future. Moses Sully, 43 points, pretty much all in work rate. So again, I think you're generally seeing that the base power stats of most of these guys is slightly on the up. Like we're talking about Lukey, 68. We're going to look at the likes of your Couchman boys. They had astronomical base power numbers. I think you're seeing that these more tackles are coming into it. Like, for example, Reid Marnie scored, 51 points, and he had 47 tackles. I'm going to have a quick look and see, just for comparison's sake, what they were awarded in terms of tackles. So if I go to the Cowboys game, and I'm going to look at on Fox. So if you look at it on Fox, Reid Marnie had 30 tackles. So you're seeing a humongous difference already between NRL stat system and the Fox Sports system. So if I look again, let's just pull out someone here like Toby Couchman. He had 45 tackles under the NRL system. If I quickly go on Fox and see what he would have got there, just bear with me for a second. He would have had Dragons. Couchman would have had, where is it here? 32 tackles. So you're looking at Toby Couchman getting an extra 13 tackles based on the NRL system. Ryan Couchman here had 51 tackles. In Fox, he had 42. So you are generally seeing all these players get more. Damien Cook had 69 tackles in the NRL system. Fox had him down for 61. So again, we're seeing that evidence that all these middles, or just generally guys who are making more tackles, will get more points. So we kind of knew this going into the season, but it's always interesting, in my opinion, to actually see this happening for real games that are impacting SuperCoach. For example, if I flick over quickly to the Bulldogs, for example, I'm going to get Preston has got 46 tackles on NRL. He's got 44 in Fox, so not too different, to be fair. Let's see if someone else is higher. Bailey Hayward's got 55 in the NRL system, 50 on Fox. Not too different, but they're still higher in the NRL system. So I think we're seeing that play out for sure. Paycheck says, was happy with the Smash Brothers Couchman's tackling machines. Yeah, let's talk about them. So, Jesus, 81 minutes from Toby Couchman. He played the first 31, and then he came back on for 37 more. That's how he got his 68 minutes. So I wonder if the game was a regulation 80-minute game, if he got subbed off on the 31st minute, he would have, and that's how he came back on when he did, he would have got about 58 to 60 minutes, which is fine. But maybe you would have seen, like, that 81 is huge, but maybe that 81 would go instead down to, I don't know, low 70s, which is still really, really good, but not the 81 points. So something to monitor there. I don't think I'm going to rush to buy them just after the first week, because they did play a Golden Point game where the minutes were inflated. But the minutes were a bit strange for the Dragons forwards as well, because obviously Setutu only played 66 minutes. He had to go off with cramp. and Matt Finge was brought on earlier anyway. So he came on and played in total, 39 minutes. So he played a little bit for Setutu, played a little bit for Moses Suli. So I'm not sure if that was the plan to sit Blake Laurie for the entirety of that game, because as you can see, the bench forwards who came on, Harmsele 35, Josh Kerr 25, Ryan Couchman played huge minutes, obviously 59 minutes for his 70 points. So he is the talking point in terms of cheapies, I think, that people are looking at. Again, at his price at 235k with a 70, awesome. He'll have a huge negative break even. I'll probably just give it one more week, because if you're seeing him get 40 minutes off the bench and he's good for like a 50 at 235k, he'll become like a must own. Whether it's just been inflated because of, things around, some of the backline players going off for cramp and things like that. It's just, I would like to see another kind of data set of minutes, but you possibly could be trading in 2 Couchmans maybe in round 3, because if they're going to keep posting these massive numbers, then particularly Ryan Couchman at 235k, who would become an absolute must-have. Hamish Stewart was benched in the starting game, but he did come on and then play the remainder of the game out. So 57 points for him is very, very solid. At his price, he's priced around the low 40s. So if you went with him in the end, you might have been scared off a little bit because of the benching. But 57 is still really solid from him. Luciano Leilua as well, 51. Okay, nothing amazing, obviously, versus say Lukey. Lukey's won out massively here, and Leilua only played 70 minutes, not the full 80 minutes here. Damien Cook had a huge game as well, 69 tackles, as we mentioned. So he did get the try assist as well for Emre Gula off the kick. But apart from that, 12 points, pretty much everything else was, base power. So you're looking at 90 plus points in base power there for Damien Cook. Whether he's an option or not, I'm not convinced, because there's no Jacob Little here. Jacob Little normally would be on that bench for the Dragons. And so I'm not sure if he's going to be getting full 80 minutes, every week. Maybe in the next couple when Little's still out. Long term though, I'm not too sure. Hamish Stewart thought, I think that's pretty solid, 57 points. But again, minutes could be slightly inflated there, because I'm going to quickly find out when did he come onto the field. So just bear with me for a sec. To be fair, someone in my Twitter or my X did shout out that even with Hamish Stewart benched, he thought the plan was going to be for Stewart to come on and then play out the remainder of the game, which I believe did happen. So if I have a quick look, when did Stewart get on? Yeah, he came on in the 20th minute, Hamish Stewart. So he was on in the first 20, and then he came off. Yeah, so I'm looking at the log. So he came on in the 20th minute, came off in the 85th, but then was back on again in the 88th. So I think Emre Gula may have had something that's hampered him, but yeah, he had a very, very short stint and then came back on. So I wonder if it was a regulation game that went to 80 minutes. Maybe he gets 50 to 55 minutes in a regulation game. That's maybe my guess, which is still something, but at that price, I'd probably not at that price, but I'd maybe feel more comfortable just getting like a Lukey or something who's playing the full 80 minutes. Jaden Sewell with a good score of 74 as well, a bit of a point of difference. Dan Atkinson, so scored 30 points in the 92 minutes. I wasn't expecting like huge things from Atkinson this week, just because it's a tough matchup against the Bulldogs. Very much played that kind of organising half role. Like 27 tackles is pretty solid. A few runs in there as well. So I think the floor looks okay, but then he had 4 missed tackles and he had a couple of errors in there as well, which hurt his overall score. Yeah, just did a lot of kind of general playmaking. The Dragons were gritty, but again, not like scoring a load of points. So I'm not like concerned with Atkinson. It was a tough matchup against the Bulldogs. So I'm not totally concerned about Atkinson at the moment. But let's see how Ethan Sanders goes this week. And maybe that we can get our first hint at who's the better of the Ethan Sanders versus Daniel Atkinson debate for 2026. But yeah, 30 points. I'm not too scared or anything like that, because it was a tough matchup. And Setutu was good, obviously scored that try in the corner, so that boosted his score up to 62. If you don't include that, you're looking at 14 plus 8, 22 plus 12, 34, 38, 37, looking at 37 points in base power, which is a little bit under, but again, scoring the try is a good sign. It seems as though, playing outside of Val Holmes will be good for Setutu. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with pretty happy with set to 2 to start off with. Obviously, he should retain the spot as well for the Dragons. So yeah, overall, that's probably my main takes on the Dragons players. We'll quickly move on to the Bulldogs. So you've got, obviously the big winners here were Kiraz, Stephen Crichton. So yeah, confirmation that left edge for the Bulldogs, Kikau, Stephen Crichton, Kiraz. That's an absolutely gun edge. Of course, the Bulldogs have got the bye now in round 2. That helps things because it means that if you are considering to bring in their players, you don't need to bring them in until round 4 before price changes, not round 3. So it just buys you that extra week of time. But yeah, Kiraz on the left is a very, very enticing proposition. Physio commented that he had a lot of strapping on his left shoulder, so I'm keen to hear what he says about that. But nothing really seemed to hamper Kiraz in terms of work rate or anything like that. Obviously scored that try with a line break. Had a line break assist as well, but his numbers were stupid. Offload to hand, 3 of them, so that's 12 already off the bat. 14 points with the offload to ground, so that's 14. 18 when you include the tackle busts. 18 plus 9, what's that, 27. 27 plus 30, he had 38 points in runs just over 8 meters. So 27 plus 38 is like what, 45? No, not even 45 points. I'm not talking 65 points, plus 4 tackles. 69 points base power for Kiraz, just casually. Absolute weapon and machine. A lot of offloading as well. And I think we're probably seeing a benefit of, again, maybe earlier broad takeaway. This offload to hands is really going to boost up your players who love to offload, because the way that Supercoach would assess, effective versus ineffective offloads, it was purely just like if they offloaded and the player ran forward past the line that they offloaded, therefore deemed effective. The fact that it just needs to get to someone's hand and not to the ground, and you get 4 points from that, you could throw technically an in-game junk offload that you just offload it, someone catches it and gets tackled immediately. It has no benefit to the play, but you get 4 points for that. So I think one of my early things I'm kind of looking out for is the players who do like to offload a lot, because I think that is going to be a real big booster to scores, because you can see there with Kiraz getting 3 of those offloads to hand, he's getting the 12 points. Viliami Kikau, 97 points with 4 offloads to hand and 2 offloads to ground. So 6 offloads in total. That's something to definitely take note of as well. Yeah, Toolpro saying that Kiraz looked awesome. Toolpro's also asking, would you loop Kiraz? In terms of looping scores, I'm assuming the majority of people have got VC KP. I would definitely be looping, I think, KP's 118 points. I think that's a very, very strong score to just take right off the bat. I wouldn't be taking that option away. Kiraz 102. If your alternative, let's say your captain is Payne Haas, Payne Haas is probably good for an 80. I think 102, I'd almost be leaning towards taking it. Anything less than 100, I probably wouldn't maybe be taking as a loop option. But yeah, so very, very encouraging signs from the left side of the Bulldogs with Kiraz going very big. Of course, Stephen Crichton kept the goal kicking, had that try assist for Kiraz as well, and of course one that got that winning field goal towards the end of the game. So he was on about 60 points before that field goal, which it feels like one of those scores where if you knew that he was on 60 minus the field goal, if you're an owner, you'll be, okay, you'll take it. If you're a non-owner, you'll think, okay, I'll take it. 70 points, I think the owners have slightly won out here. They'd probably be thinking, okay, a score with a 7 in front of it. That's awesome to see, especially for someone priced at 600k, which is priced around the low 60s. 70 points from him is a good outing. But I wonder again, 60 points in regulation time, I'm not like thinking, oh, I need to jump on Stephen Crichton and think he's a must-have or anything like that. Kiraz I'd be looking at much more closely instead of a Stephen Crichton, put it that way. Lockie Galvin with a good score of 78. Marcelo Montoya with 63, which looks like 53 of that is in base power. But again, a lot of these base power scores that we're looking at will be slightly inflated because the game went to 90 minutes. Galvin looked okay as well with 78 points. Max King, 67 solid. Bailey Hayward, if anyone went for him, you'd definitely be encouraged to see him play the full 90 minutes. As we said, made 55 tackles, pretty much did that. He was just the distributor, just getting it out to his guys. 55 points in tackles, -6, and then 1 run. That's all he did. He was just a tackle bot in the middle of the field, which is fine. For 343k, if he's going to do that for you, then that's fine. But again, recognize that there will be 10 less minutes in the typical games. So that 51 points could instead maybe have been a low 40s, mid 40s. Maybe you're not as happy with it, but at his price, it's fine. So you'll take that score definitely for round 1. Kikau and Preston, the edges both doing very, very well for the Bulldogs here. Of course, Preston getting sent over for a try from Lockie Galvin. So congratulations to anyone who started with Preston. as a bit of a point of difference, because he wasn't that highly owned in your 2R refs. You're mainly seeing Tino, Azayo, Angus. Probably shows that your edge forwards still, the ones with the upside, still are definitely a factor in this game. It's not just middle forwards. Like, they outscored Toby Couchman. They outscored Ryan Couchman. Granted, the other two are much cheaper than Kikau and Jacob Preston. So, very, very good outing there from Jacob Preston. He had the try and line break, but if you take that out, you're looking at, again, 70 points base power. Kind of shows generally that he's got a pretty good floor. Doesn't offload as much as a Kikau, so only had the one offload. I'm not saying that I'd choose Preston over Kikau. Look, they've got the bye anyway in round 2. I think the player that most people will be taking note of here is probably Jacob Kiraz, because he was someone who was very highly owned coming into the preseason. But of course, he was having this niggle, didn't see him in the trials, so a lot of people moved off of him. It won't take much for people to jump back onto a Kiraz. So, depending on how things play out, he could just come straight back into the team as well in round 3. Like, if you've got Drinkwater at flex and you want to move off of Drinkwater, you could just go Drinkwater to Kiraz as well, and free up a little bit of money that way too. But yeah, Kiraz definitely taking note of that. And as I said before, these guys who offload a lot are going to be gold in this new system. Nothing really much else there from the Bulldogs. Kurt Mann, 45 minutes off the bench, off the bench. Jamin Salmon, 48 minutes. Josh Curran only played the 12 minutes, so I'm not sure what's happening there, but very, very low minutes for Josh Curran. Let's take a few look at some comments from the chat as well. Kiraz looked awesome from Tupra. Yeah, we mentioned that one. Can't complain too much when running the 2 cheapies at halves. Hopefully those have a gun in flex to compensate. Yeah, my advice generally for those who are running like the double cheapie halves was to have a gun halfback in flex, because I don't think you can rely on the cheapie halves and no one else. Because yeah, as someone else mentioned from NRL Center, he said Atkinson doesn't look any special. He just kicks the ball. He just kicked the ball and passed, didn't run the ball much. Yeah, he didn't really run the ball much, and the stats show that, right? He only had 6 points. He had 2 runs over 8 meters, 4 runs under. So wasn't really running the ball a lot. I think he was definitely given the role to just manage the game. And I think Shane Flanagan was making that point as well, because in the pre-game interview, they were talking about Dan Atkinson at halfback, and it sounded like for this particular game, which may not carry forward for all future games, but basically the instruction was from Flanagan to Atkinson, just make your tackles and kick the ball. I don't think he gave Atkinson much else really to think about. I think he was just thinking, look, he's a debut, the first time he's playing at number 7, massive stage, Las Vegas, so much atmosphere and whatnot. So I think he just gave him a very simple instruction, which he did, because he made 27 tackles, barely ran, and then kicked a bunch. So yes, he didn't look anything special. If that's going to be his role every single week, then maybe there's a discussion where you say, okay, maybe I'm not going to be that keen on Atkinson. Maybe you move off. It doesn't have that additional booster and goal kicks that Ethan Sanders will. So yeah, if you've got for example, if you've gone double cheapy halves and you've got like another halfback and flex, I wouldn't stress too much, because if you get another poor game from Atkinson, and let's say you see Ryan Couchman absolutely kill it, in round 3, you can just go Atkinson, switch your gun halfback to your main halfback position, and then you can trade Atkinson to someone in flex, which could be a Ryan Couchman at flex. You've got that optionality as well, and that's kind of why I said if you're running double cheapy halves, I would definitely be trying to have a gun halfback down at your flex spot. So yeah, I think Atkinson just kind of did what Flanagan wanted him to do. Probably not the most conducive though for Supercoach points. No such thing as the wrong Couchman. They are machines. Yeah, the Couchman boys were insane. Just like, yeah, what is that? 45 tackles for Toby, 51 for Ryan. Yeah, insanity. Yeah, Preston looked really good. Yeah, Preston did look good. Paddy ABZ is saying Drinky to Ponga for me. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a very common move. The Flock says, I've Cleary in the flex. Yeah, I think if you got Cleary in the flex, then I think you wouldn't stress too much, because you're going to be able to make that kind of pivot off from Atkinson to maybe another cheapie at 235k. Lachlan Camilleri says, I was actually very disappointed with Drinkwater's shape, was nowhere near the last pass or sweeping, and mostly the first receiver in the middle of the field. Yeah, I think people are making very valid points here on Drinkwater, because someone mentioned it earlier as well about the fact that he really wasn't looking like, he just wasn't looking likely. He wasn't looking like he was going to ever get the last pass or any kind of major attack step. I don't know if that's a function of the Cowboys and just they looked very poor. They were going very side to side, very lateral, but just he never looked threatening. And again, I don't know if it's because of this rib issue. I'm keen to hear what NRL Physio has to say on his podcast, because I think, the more we're talking about it, the more in my head I can think, okay, maybe I will move off of drink water, which feels a little bit reactionary, but a rib cartilage issue is not something to muck around with. It is a very painful issue that can affect the performance of these guys. So, and this is something that I struggle with in Supercoach in general, is like, especially with gun players, you pick these guys and you want to rely on them and trust on them with their pedigree and whatnot. But you also need to be able to be reactive and trust what you see. You know, part of me says, oh, he's a gun player, they've got a good draw, I don't want to just jump off of him early, because you don't want that regret of trading someone, especially a gun, out, and then they go on to burn you. But at the same time, you maybe do need to be reactive and say, you know what, I didn't like what I saw. He's 793k. And again, you might even see Reece Walsh come out this week and kill it. He may score 120 against Penrith, and you might decide, you know what, not Ponga, Reece Walsh is the guy that I want, because I know from round 4 onwards, he's got an amazing draw. So I think a lot of things still need to play out, because everyone's thinking Drinky to Ponga. Just think to the back of your mind, what happens if Reece Walsh comes out and scores 150 versus Penrith and looks amazing? Anything can happen. Obviously, I don't wish it, but Broncos' first game, Adam Reynolds goes down. All of a sudden, Reece Walsh is goal kicking. People are going to be thinking, oh my God, I need to jump on Reece Walsh, not Kalen Ponga. So you don't, and again, it doesn't really matter so much, because we're not going to be able to make this particular move for another whole week plus. But just keep that in your mind as well. Like, if you're already thinking, oh, I'm going to free up money from going drink water to Ponga, just take a deep breath, and we've still got plenty more things to learn. We still have a whole another TLT to deal with as well on Tuesday, which is going to have more teams to deal with than just the Vegas one. So there's still lots and lots of things to learn. But of course, I think it was great to get footy back this week, of course. And yeah, good to see as well that there's a lot of discussion happening as well, because that's the best part of Supercoach, isn't it? I had Drinky at fullback and Sharp at flex. The day started so well. Yeah, that's a rough. I feel for you, because at least Fletcher Sharp got you a good score. At least he got you 65 or 63 points. But I know you're just sitting there thinking, what could have been? He could have been on for 100 plus easily. Yeah, Fletcher Sharp looked amazing. So yeah, sucks for owners, but at least you got a good score. But it looks like he'll be out for a couple of weeks as well. So there will be a decision made for Fletcher Sharp owners. If you've got the ability to move via flex, Fletcher Sharp to someone in like a Ponga could be something that you do. But it remains to be seen. There's still a lot of things to happen. What about Reece Walsh and Ponga? Yeah, that's not a bad option from Infinite Lucario. Hold Drinky for one more week and never react. Ponga might get injured next week. Drinky might score 100. If not, you can always trade round 3 from David Schuster. Yeah, it's hard to... I think I need to... I can't give you guys the answer right now when I'm thinking with drink water. At the moment, I'd probably say 55-45 to holding him, at least, and giving him round 2. But see, this is the tricky thing. If you hold him for round 2 and he stinks it up and he's got a massive break even, but then he's home to the Gold Coast Titans in round 3, what are you going to do? Are you going to trade him out before the Gold Coast Titans? Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe mentally it's easier to deal with if you just trade him out round 2, because then I think West Tigers away at Leichhardt isn't the easiest of matchups. They'll be up for it. It'll be their first game as well. Maybe I'll switch back to 50-50 on Drinkwater instead of 55-45, because I can see myself playing those mental gymnastics in round 3 of, oh God, he's got a high break even if he doesn't look good, but he's got the Titans. Do I really want to trade him before the Titans? And then you're kind of forcing yourself into a corner. So yeah, maybe the play is to just move off of him. But yeah, let's see. Paycheck says no trades for me until round 3 unless players are injured. That's generally a good strategy as well, because so many things can happen and we're still learning so much new information. But guys, I'm probably going to wrap it up there. It's been 45 minutes, hopefully short and sweet. Just a couple of games to rattle through. But we will be back on Tuesday for the round 1 trade targets and preview stream, back to the normal stuff that we saw from last year. We'll be going through TLT, trying to answer your remaining dilemmas coming into next week. Great to have some footy back and get some Supercoach points on the board to start off with. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you are new around here, please do give the stream a like on the way out. Please do also comment as well if you like the video. And please do subscribe as well if you want to see more content through the preseason. Go follow me on all my socials like X, Instagram, Patreon as well if you want to see my full team for the full season as well. And whatever changes I do make based on the updated TLT for round 1. Although I'm hoping I don't need to make any changes to my team. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully you all enjoyed your first day of NRL footy back for